Hey guys, this is Adam with See You Later Leaner, and I'm here with the amazing Emily Chanel to talk about gut stuff today.
Today's the day. We're finally doing it, going through the results and basically the gut protocol, what we're doing, and basically the next steps on how to resolve these issues that I'm having.
Yeah, so this is a great topic. It's probably been one that I've needed to podcast like specifically about for a while because I've been known for helping people with their gut health and fixing it. To no surprise, without having a gallbladder, we know that you're going to digest a little bit slower and a little bit less efficiently than most people. So, and even, there was a point in your prep where you were just like, I'm a little bit bloated and
Hmm.
we were able to kind of use some stuff to keep it going. The funny thing is, I looking back, I think you had some die off because you would feel worse before you would feel better, remember? And
Yeah.
we were kind of like debating, do we keep taking the berberine, do we not take the berberine? And that was one of the tall tale signs that we said once prep is over, we're going to get this GI map. Because once you start raising food, it usually just makes things a whole lot worse and a lot
Yes.
more difficult. And the nice thing is, you were pretty much ahead of the game, got the testing right away. You were able to get a discount on the testing, which is always
Yes.
huge. Sometimes I don't go to the GI map right away because it's expensive. Most of the time, it's going to be about a $500 test. So we surely want to make sure somebody has an issue, which we were pretty sure you did. So we said, go ahead and let's get that test.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, one of the things talking about like what does the test for? So, it tests for parasites, viruses. It tests for your gut bacteria. Is it healthy or not? And we'll talk a lot about this, but it tests for like inflammation markers and how inflamed your gut is. So, do you want to go ahead and go over the results?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. So, first, we'll start with like the major one, which is the H. pylori. So, when we're
Hmm.
positive in that, it's actually pretty serious. And the H. pylori is what pretty much led to everything else we're going to see on the GI map, but it causes a lot of inflammation, ulcers, bloating, nausea, reflux, and it can affect your digestion pretty significantly. One of the big ones here is it can lower stomach acid. And since you already have a hard time
Oh.
digesting, lowering the stomach acid is like that second part of digestion, which can really make it difficult to digest.
Would that explain why I would have like really bad heartburns?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, makes so much sense. I actually, when I got the results right away, I was like, let me Google what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And it said a lot of people get this H. pylori maybe in childhood and they don't even realize it for years, and it can lead to very serious issues. So I'm so happy to see, not happy to see that, but I'm happy to see the causes. And so we're able to fix it.
Yeah. It's interesting because a lot of times people will take something that lowers stomach acid. Well, the reason stuff comes up is because it's not quite digested. And so we actually need to
Mm,
increase stomach acid, but we need to get H. pylori gone first before we do that.
okay.
So, which is cool to see. So, yeah, definitely one of the bigger causes of all of your issues. So next on the test, we're going to go with the Escherichia, and that is high at 5.89. And this is basically showing that you have increased intestinal inflammation. So pretty simple. The next one we have is the Enterobacter species, and that one basically leads us to increased intestinal activity again. So the last two things were basically high intestinal inflammation. So basically, from the H. pylori, because you're not digesting well, you're getting high inflammation. So the next one that's risen isn't necessarily too much of a problem, but the Bacteroidetes were high. And the reason they're high is sometimes these enzymes can help you break down plant fibers and carbs. So it's a major group of bacteria. But the reason it wasn't that big of an issue is because your Firmicutes were like your ratio was normal. So all of these things are really hard to pronounce, but if you guys look them up, you can kind of look up like what do they call it? The phonetics of how you
How you
say
should
these
pronounce it.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and since I've done them quite a few times, we end up, seeing these things over and over again. So this is the next big thing is the opportunistic bacterias. We're going to go to the Enterococcus faecalis, which the high levels of this are reduced stomach acid. So, interestingly
Mm.
enough, we were just talking about how H. pylori can lower stomach acid. So, it's not surprising that this one was risen. So, I could have almost looked at your H. pylori and just know your Enterococcus is going to be high,
Right.
which is kind of a funny one to say.
So they go hand in hand.
They do, yeah. The next one is the streptococcus, which the high levels are from low stomach acid as well, lower digestive capacity, which we knew you already had. But this one in particular can like kind of show that SIBO is present. So that's where we get
Mm.
that small intestinal overgrowth. And basically, because your stomach acid is low, you're having a harder time breaking down things. That low stomach acid allows for these bacterias to kind of survive. And then that in itself is what can cause this bad bacterial overgrowth to happen. So that's kind of a big one, which we haven't touched on a whole lot yet because we're kind of getting you through the first part of your protocol because we can kind of see how the H. pylori is really causing all of this in the first place.
Right.
The next one's going to be the Citrobacter, and these are high levels that indicate increased intestinal inflammatory activity. So, again, and then we'll also see the other one again, which is going to be the Escherichia again. So, in this setting, they're kind of looking at like possible autoimmune conditions, but we're seeing a lot of inflammation in the gut. So your inflammatory response is all coming from the gut at this point. So, I don't really need to look into you having like rheumatoid arthritis or anything like that. They are some things that could be clues for certain clients, but for you, we know that you specifically like have a gut issue. So
Right.
nothing too crazy there. Let's see. Next, we have the lactase one, which it's at 423. It's not great. It's not horrible, but we could be better for pancreatic function, which is again going to help you break down food a little bit better. And then the last one that we have is the caloprotectin. And this is the one I wanted to touch on the most because if I do blood work with a client, we'll sometimes see that neutrophilus is high. Well, if neutrophilus is high on blood work, we know the caloprotectin is probably going to be high because caloprotectin is basically the protein that's released by the white blood cells when you have like a gut issue. So we had pretty severe inflammation, which we knew we would probably see that caloprotectin high because 4 of those things led to increased inflammatory activity. So a lot to digest with that. I wanted to keep it pretty basic for our audience, but we'll go ahead and pan back to us and we'll maybe
And
move
Max.
Max or keep
Do
Max.
you have anything to say? So you said earlier about the different phases.
Yes.
So how are the phases broken down with like months, weeks,
Yeah.
or
So anything that flags on these tests can take different timelines to fix. But right now, we're basically removing things. So we want to remove the H. pylori because we can see how the H. pylori can kind of stop you even being able to digest well.
Yeah.
So if we tried to fix the SIBO first, what would happen is, well, then you have that low stomach acid, and it's just going to be hard for you to digest anyhow. And then from there, guess what? We would get SIBO again because we didn't fix phase one. Now, this is actually something good to talk about. In a few instances, clients will just do a breath test, which only tests for SIBO. I always assume they have H. pylori if they do a positive breath test because the H. pylori is probably causing, just like in your case, the SIBO in the first place. So, and I know you did a lot of research on this. H. pylori is just so common. And I think one thing we didn't touch on, if people are like, well, no big deal, like H. pylori can actually turn into cancer if it's left
Yeah.
untreated long enough. So we definitely don't want that.
No, absolutely not. So with supplement protocol, if you want to touch on that.
Yeah. So right now, using the DGL and the mastic gum can be really helpful. And then using other supports for inflammation like Pepsin GI, which is zinc carnosine. Berberine can kill all of these things as well, which is super helpful. And I know you've been trying to add some garlic and oil of oregano as well, which
Yes.
can help you kill off these things as well.
Yeah, and ginger. I read
Yes,
somewhere where
that's
ginger
right.
is really good for you. I met with someone at the gym, and she was telling me that she's doing a gut protocol, and I guess she can't do any garlic or ginger or anything like that. And I'm like, well, did you do a GI map? She said, no. I said, okay, well, I did a GI map and I did my research, and actually these things help me in my case, but everyone's so different, and whatever she may be going through, it's actually, maybe it's too harsh on her stomach.
Yep.
But I was like, yes, I can have ginger because I love ginger. I love garlic.
Yeah.
And I was like, awesome, I'm able to incorporate these into my meals, and it actually helps too. So now I've been putting ginger with my meals, in every
Yeah.
one of my meals, and also some garlic in my meals too.
Awesome.
And so I love it. And also to make things easier, because it does sound like a lot when you say, do this, this, and this, and this. You know, it sounds like too much. So I have like a pill organizer
Yeah.
where I do every morning. I put all of my pills for the week of like what I'm going to take. And I even have a PM for the nighttime.
Nice.
And then the mastic gum, I have it next to it because that one I take before anything. So I take 2 of that. But that made it for me just easier. So it wasn't like all these bottles doing a whole bunch of things every
Right.
single day, just like one at a time. On every Sunday, I would organize the pills to make it simple.
Yeah. What are some things you've noticed from treatment? Because I feel like I could maybe touch on a few, but I do feel like one, your skin looks really, really clear.
Thank you. I did notice when we first started the berberine, I was not a fan because it kind of just made me feel more bloated. I did notice I was breaking out a lot. Stan was saying that it might be like the purging of
Mhm.
like my, I'm cleansing myself.
Yeah, we call that die off or part of the Herxheimer reaction when some
Really?
of those things happen. Yeah.
My skin felt a little weird. I felt like a sunburn, like a light sunburn. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it could be part of the die off because your your skin even needs to breathe and get things out of it. And we obviously get rid of things through, respiration or digestion as well.
Yeah, but those are like the biggest things I noticed. My skin, it is getting a lot more smoother and clearer. It's not 100% yet, but I struggled with acne for years. Like
Mhm.
this has been years. I even went on Accutane for it. Like it's something, and I never thought to do a GI map. Like now it makes sense, looking back, like it's probably something within like a bacteria I have, and it needs to be killed and died off. So now I'm like so grateful that I did it because now my skin's starting to clear up. It's still not as clear as I would love it to be, but it's finally getting clear.
What's great about it is you know, for some people, having what you had could be the one thing that prevents them from getting through a prep. Um,
Mm,
Prep could have magnetized it, to where things got worse. All of these things are a component of stress to a degree. But the big thing is, good communication and, being on top of it. And,
yeah.
you may not have H. pylori, you may not have SIBO, but it's always good to maybe check here and there. And I know over the past couple years, I've been a lot more proactive at having my clients test because even when they weren't symptomatic, sometimes things have came back. And I would say you were very not that symptomatic, for the
Mm-mm.
most part. So this kind of snuck up on you.
Yes.
And
I
we,
also noticed too, my stomach is tightening up. And I'm like thinking, wow, if it can get any smaller, that would be
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Because I notice I'm not as bloated. So it doesn't feel like as heavy. You know what I'm
yeah.
trying to say? At first, it felt really heavy and bloated. But now, like, I'm in that phase where the supplements aren't making me feel any negative kind of way. I don't feel bloated. And bowels normal. Everything seems to digest great. So it doesn't feel like it's doing anything as how I felt when I first started taking it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and what's awesome about this is being a leader in the fit model world, you're a great, advertisement for taking care of your gut health, which
Yeah.
people aren't talking about that often. And I think if they are, they're going like maybe to a functional doctor. And I'm not going to hate on functional docs, but you know, I'm fair as a coach. Like if a client of mine has SIBO, I'm not going to charge her more, even though it's like a lot more detailed work to like work on that. But at the same time, like I just want to help my clients get better, feel better. I have the knowledge and power to be able to do that in most cases. Obviously, there is one thing on those GI maps where I don't touch if somebody has the blood in the stool, like bingo, get a doctor,
Yeah.
because there's something really serious going on. And I think that's what's good. And I want to lead the way with the coaches. Like, don't be afraid to learn about this stuff. It is really complicated. It took me a while to, you know, one, learn how to pronounce those things, but two, also just get comfortable on like what do they all mean. And there's actually an interpretive guide if you guys want. We'll link it for you guys so you can look and kind of follow along with Emily's GI map, and you guys
Yeah.
can learn about a little bit about what we're doing.
Absolutely. And you touched on a good point. It starts within. I truly believe like if you feel good, you look good, and if you're absorbing food and taking it food, it's going to show. And starting this off season, I wanted to take advantage of it. I mean, every new Fit Model Pro is having an off season right now, and I really wanted to make it the best off season, not just pushing food right away, especially if I'm not digesting it right and I'm inflamed and have all of these unknown or things that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah,
And now I'm able to clear it up. I mean, I still feel a little bit behind, but we're starting to increase food slowly as it's dying off, and really take advantage of increasing my metabolism and eating more and feeling good. And I truly feel like this is going to be, it already is my best off season. I'm now 2 months post show and I'm eating great, no complaints, and I'm feeling so good. I'm even feeling better, I think, than I was the last month of prep,
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. And the big thing is now you're assimilating, probably better the nutrients that you are eating because, a lot of this is moving through and breaking down better than it was. And more to come because we're still not done yet. This is just the beginning of our phase, but that's just goes to show you like what great improvements you can notice just with focusing on one piece of this.
How much longer do you think it's going to be?
So we'll probably go 2 more weeks on phase one, and then we'll go ahead and get into our phase two, which will be more about the SIBO and attacking that.
what's included with attacking that.
So yeah, so with that, we're already doing some things. There's going to be, taking care of the inflammation with the, zinc carnosine. You've got the oregano and the berberine, which will actually kill some of those. So we actually will kind of include that as part of like your treatment. And then from there, we'll want to make sure that we're going to kind of kill off a lot of your gut bacteria, because we're trying to kill the bad stuff, but the bad thing is we kill some of the good when we do that.
Yeah.
Tricky thing with you is that you don't have a gallbladder, so we're not going to be able to go like extremely high fats, and we typically do go, lower carb, higher fat with a low FODMAP diet on SIBO treatment. So we'll get to that probably in another episode here.
Okay.
And but yeah, this is phase 1, and then we get to move into phase 2. But a lot of what we're doing in phase 1 is going to help clear us up for phase 2 as well.
Yay.
So, and again, the H. pylori was really the result of you having SIBO.
It all makes sense now, guys.
So,
well, this is why I truly believe we all need to do at least a gut protocol. I think a lot of people were very unaware of this. I was unaware about it until you helped me a lot. Having a really good coach, someone who's knowledgeable, and someone who cares about your health is so important, so critical, I would say, especially in this sport. So I am so grateful for Adam for taking the initiative to go above and beyond and learning these things, continue learning these things, not just for me, but for other athletes, other people who are just coming into the sport, because this is something that not every coach does, and I truly believe they should. So thank you.
Yeah, I will say there was a point in my career where I didn't have to learn this stuff, and then it just kept coming up, and that's where I was like, there's definitely something to this, but I also cared. So that's what kind of threw me into, I need to learn about this. I've had some really great mentors along the way. So I definitely want to thank Austin and Jason for all their hard work. Of course, my medical director and Dr. Joe, you guys are amazing. And I'm really led by a lot of great people in the industry. So that's been what's really helped me the most.
Well, that's amazing. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is, again, the beginning. We're probably going to do another podcast soon in a few weeks of just an update and what we're doing now. But thank you for joining this Fit Model journey, and we will see you guys on the next one. Bye.
See you soon.